Driving home from Rogers Arena tonight, maybe some disappointed fans this evening, but overall throughout the year, they don't have much to be upset about. It's been a great year for the Canucks, who have already clinched the President's Trophy, and a great year for our next guest, Roberto Luongo. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Number one thing I want to start with was while we were waiting here, Manny Malhotra walked by and went into the workout room. See the little smile. He came back tonight for the first time. Must have been great to see him.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I just got back from New York, so the guys were pretty excited to see him, and you know, we're really happy that he's doing better, and hopefully you know, he'll be able to gain his vision back and play hockey someday. So it's been a tough few weeks for obviously Manny, but also the guys. We're thinking about him a lot, and we're happy to see him.
All right, let's begin with Corey Schneider tonight. Talking yesterday about what a great relationship the two of you guys have. After a game like this evening, what do you say to him?
Not much, you know. He's been playing unbelievable all year, and obviously maybe he'd like to have a second one back, but he had a lot of odd man rushes tonight, made a lot of saves, tried to keep the boys in it as long as he could. So he's been doing that all year, and I think the guys in the locker room recognize that and appreciate that.
You've really embraced him, which is great. You've been great with him, and he's been very upfront about that. But you've accomplished everything. You've played 70 games in a season tons of times, Olympics, World Championships, you name it. Has it been easy for you to just kind of take your foot off the pedal and say, okay, I'm going to play 65, but this could very well be your best season that you actually played? Yeah, it is. I mean, when they brought it up to me at the beginning of the year, I got to be honest, I wasn't believing it that much because I hear it every year that I get here. But you know, once we got into December, they started giving Schneid some games, and he was playing unreal and winning games for us. Kind of made it easier to make that transition. You know, not only for myself but for the coaching staff to keep playing him, you know, more often than in the past. And you know, we all see that he's got tremendous talent, and we formed a great friendship, and I really enjoy working with him. You know, it's fun to watch him in practice, and there's barely lets any goals in, so he pushes me to be better as well.
Speaking of practice, Kevin, you saw a drill this morning that you want to task Roberto about.
Yeah, it's called, I think Rolly called it the best drill in the world, this one here. It's kind of like a 5-on-0 or whatever it is, but maybe you can explain this drill for the fans out there, because I think this is a great drill, not only for you guys, the goalies, but also for the shooters too. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not even 5-on-0. Sometimes it's 10, 12-on-0. It doesn't matter. But you know, we got everything you need in this drill. You know, like one-timers from the top, guys in front taking rebounds, plays from behind the net. So pretty much everything you need to know about goaltending is you got to utilize in this drill. So that's why we enjoy it so much. Let's stay with that. Just with Rolly Melanson. Can you just talk a little bit, maybe in your own words, of the adjustments that he's made? I know people have been asking you this all year, but since we've got the captive audience here on Saturday night, maybe tell the people some of the adjustments he's made in your game. Well, I started off right before training camp. He came to Florida, and we started working on a few things. You know, the first thing we addressed was making sure that I use a lot of T-pushes in my crease, and I used to be a lot of shuffler, and which would use more energy and take more time. So once I started using the T-pushes, I was able to move around my crease fairly easier, and took maybe a step back as far as depth-wise that I used to play, which enabled me, you know, to make saves on rebounds and backdoor plays more than in the past, because you know, I'm a big guy, so whether I took a step back or not, I still could utilize my body and my athleticism and make the saves. Once we got into, you know, later November and December, really started working on plays around the net, making sure that you seal the bottom of the ice, you don't get beat low, and for some reason, you know, once I started using that, my game took off and felt comfortable, and feels like every puck seems to find you.
All right, that's great stuff, by the way. And we're going to show a clinic, by the way, that Roberto did for us a couple years ago, a bit later on. There was the #1 question I got asked to ask you today on Twitter was basically about the Chicago Blackhawks. And basically the question that people want to know is, would you rather avoid them? There it is. Brad Nolan 12, do you want to play the Hawks in order to exercise your demons, or do you want nothing to do with them? No, of course we want to play them. But, you know, at the end of the day, we know whoever we face is going to be tough. And, you know, believe it or not, I enjoy playing the Blackhawks. I love it. I mean, especially in Chicago, I think it's so much fun to play in that building. And obviously the rivalry that we've created over the last few years is pretty intense. So that's what makes it so much fun to play in those types of games. A couple of the guys that drove you the craziest, or Ladden, Bufflin, and Versteeg, aren't there anymore. How much does that change the rivalry, if at all?
Well, we've had some pretty intense games, you know, this year. So, I don't know if it's going to change it all that much, but you know, obviously there's a few games left. We don't know who we're going to play. If we do end up playing the Blackhawks, I mean, I think the guys are really looking forward to that opportunity and that challenge. If we don't, we know it's going to be a tough series either way, and there's a lot of teams in this conference that could go all the way, so we want to make sure that we're playing our game.
Here's a quote from you recently. I've been on hot streaks before, but I can't really compare this. I just feel like every aspect of my game is good and strong. When you're playing well technically, the pucks just seem to find you. That's what's going on right now. That's why I'm not making the highlights at night. When you get everything in your chest, it makes it look easy. It makes my D-men look good too.
Yeah. Best
you've played?
Yeah, bar none, I would say. You know, and like that quote says, I mean, I don't feel like I'm on a hot streak. I just feel like I'm playing goal right now, and it's been like that for a few months, and it's fun. It's fun to be in that kind of zone and come to the rink and just put the same product on the ice every night. You know, you don't feel like you have as many ups and downs, and it's just fun playing hockey that way.
Roberto, you're one of the few guys that's been dominant on a terrible team, and now you're dominant on an excellent team. Explain the difference between the two.
Well, you know, when my early days with the Panthers and when we played with the Islanders, you know, we'd face a lot of rubber, and you know, most nights we'd have to stand on our head and we have a chance to win. The great part about, you know, playing here in Vancouver and most of all this year, you know, you don't have to be the #1 star every night to win. You know, guys can score goals. You know, we got great defensive players. We play a great system, so you're not relied on as much to make the difference every night. And once in a while, when you are, you know, it feels good.
Yeah.
All right, Twitter question. Sensdu19, obviously a big Jason Spezza fan. Yeah. What's the difference between the pressure of playing in the Olympics and playing in the playoffs?
I don't know. That is a good question. I don't know if, you know, pressure is pressure. I think obviously the Olympics is a shorter tournament. You don't have as much room for error as the playoffs. You know, one mistake, you could be done. You know, obviously playoffs is a 4 out of 7, and you get to know your opponent and you play some mind games, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, you know, it's pressure, but that's why we play hockey. You know, those moments are special, and when the pressure's on, that's what makes it so much more rewarding when you succeed.
All right, we got to take a break. We're going to come back with more Roberto Luongo, but I want you to think of this. What's the best mind game you ever saw played? And we'll come back and we'll get that answer. Okay. Segment 2 with Roberto Luongo next. .4-1 Edmonton tonight here in Vancouver as After Hours continues. Segment number 2 with Roberto Luongo, and we did what's called the viewer hook on the way to commercials, saying we get your best mind game, best one you've seen, regular season, playoffs. What do you got?
Oh, it's with my good friend Joe Thornton. You know, we played on Team Canada together all the time, and he'd always tease me in practice that he'd score a 5-hole on me. So now, every time we play each other, during the warm-up, he always stares down at me with that big smile, and he goes, "You know where it's going, Louis," every time. So he tries to make me, and he does. He wants to go 5-hole every time. I know he does, but you know, sometimes he switches it up. Sometimes he likes to go 5-hole, but so far I've had his number.
You got anything? That's great stuff. You got anything?
Other than the numbers game today in the cab on the way here, oh. That's it. That's all I got.
There's another story here for another time. Just suffice it to say that don't ever gamble with Kevin. He's the biggest cheater ever. Okay. I wanted to talk about something a couple of years ago. This was the night I became a huge Roberto Luongo fan. Yeah. There was a game here in Vancouver. You were scheduled to come on this program and give a clinic, and you lost. And it was a tough night for you, and I was sitting at home watching, and I was like, oh boy, that's going to be tough for Scott and Kelly to do. And you came out despite the loss for those kids, and you were great. You couldn't have told that you guys had lost that game, and I thought that was really impressive.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I got to say, my record on After Hours has not been good. Has not been good over the years. I might have had 1 win out of 4 or 5, but you know, it's a game. You lose. Obviously, you're not going to win them all. And I wasn't in the happiest of moods, but you try to make the best of it. And obviously, for the kids, we're there, and then you just try to, you know, help them out because I know they're enjoying that.
Yeah, smiles on their faces were huge, Kevin.
And I know that you've done that back home in St. Leonard and Montreal, and I know in Florida you have a big influence on a lot of the goalies. So it seems like it's something that's natural for you. You enjoy doing it in terms of giving back and sharing some of your knowledge and your experience with a lot of the young tenders that are out there.
Yeah, you know, I've worked in a lot of hockey schools when I was a kid. First, you know, student, and then I kind of evolved and started teaching a little bit. And then when I was with the Panthers, I used to run a goalie school in the summertime, and I kind of got my brothers involved. So now they're both goalie coaches as well. Yep. They run goalie schools in Montreal, so it's kind of in the family a little bit, and you know, a little business for them as well.
Yesterday I was talking with Corey Schneider, and you were there, and I asked him if there was a guy he just can't stop, and he said R.J. Umberger, and you turned around and said Tim Jackman,
I know,
who we're going to see next week. And Joe Thornton obviously psychs you out, but Tim Jackman too.
He's just got my number, but you know, the last game we played the Flames a couple weeks ago, he didn't score on me, so I was really proud of that moment more than anything else in my season so far.
But you know what? He's actually been a very good player for the Flames. I know he's a fourth-line player, but he's made some good plays this year. I think he's done a good job on that fourth line. He's a better player than people recognize.
Exactly, and he made some good shots, but he hangs around the net, and he's got a pretty good stick. I think maybe we should look into him this summer.
Well, the GM's watching. He knows who you want. You know, just before we wrap it up, this is an exciting time for the people in Vancouver. And just 36 hours for me in town, there's the person who's really excited, and there's the person who thinks of the playoff ghosts of years past. And what do you say to this group of people right now about this team? Because you can see the calmness and the confidence in the room.
You know, it's all about what's going on in the locker room. Obviously, you're never going to have 100% of the population behind you. There's always going to be people that doubt or say negative things. But I think as a team, we're confident in our group. I think all year we've proven that we can compete against any team. When we're playing our game, I don't think many teams can play up to our level. So we're just excited about the opportunity ahead of us. You know, we think of the possibilities that lie ahead of us, and I think as a group we're really happy, and we know it's going to be tough. There's going to be times where we're going to be flying by the seat of our pants, but you know, if we apply ourselves, work hard, and do what we got to do, you know, we look pretty excited about the opportunity.
It is the best time of year for players, broadcasters, everybody, and we look forward to sharing it with you next weekend in the playoffs.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Roberto. Roberto Luongo, 2 segments here, Alain Vigneault before him. Great night on After Hours.